All right, and we're live. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Multiverse Show, episode 131, the greatest show on Mondays. Thank you guys for tuning in. We got a lot of things we got to cover today, and we have the rare sighting of the Nick Bird finally here. Once down for the migration, out once every 7 months, like a cicada.
This elusive Canadian waterfowl can often be spotted eating greasy food.
Hey,
and poutine.
Hey, I forgot the beer, but I'll take it.
That's not an insult.
All right, we're going to get things rolling. Do our intros for the evening. First off, we have the Caesar of cinema himself, the Baron of Britain, Mr. James Wilson.
Yes, this Baron is still feeling a bit under the weather, as you might notice by my somehow even lower voice. I am recovering from I don't even know what, and I'm also recovering from just stupid people coming to see Avengers. Now I've got to deal with children coming to see Aladdin. Please feel for me, everybody. But it is a pleasure to be back. I'm sorry I couldn't be here last week, but just I couldn't be anywhere last week. But I'm happy to be back to finally talk about Game of Thrones with everyone.
Yeah.
And we have the Chief of Achievements himself, the one true King of the North, and we'll have to talk about that a little later tonight, Mr. Nicholas Downey.
Yeah, I don't think I want the King of the North title anymore. I'm pretty sure I've been usurped at this point. Yeah, it's good to be back. Had some free time for once, so figured I'd pop in. And Mike's not here for me to troll the hell out of, so I'm kind of sad.
Well, it's Game of Thrones, so he's not here. That's just how it works, unfortunately. We'll be done with this soon. It's the last one.
He's just sad because Game of Thrones still had better editing than The Sopranos. It's fine.
Ooh. He hasn't even seemed to be able to verify that either. Just sit there, watch the whole series, like, damn it. I can't do anything about this. All right, so moving things along here, we also have the Paladin of the Piedmont, the White Wolf himself, Mr. Samuel Tolbert.
Hey, everybody. And, at least the White Wolf stayed true to its name. I can say that at least. Yeah. Hope everyone's been doing well.
All right, so we're going to get things rolling here. Main Command V2. We'll get things rolling out through here. So first off, I want to kind of touch base with everybody. We're in a weird gaming period right now. It's right before E3. Some games came out, some games didn't. What have you guys been playing lately? We'll start with James, mainly just because I know you've been working a ton, so I'm sure you actually get a chance to play anything. But it's been 2 weeks. I could be surprised.
And you're about to be surprised because I have indeed played something new. I have been playing Observation. Which does anyone know about this?
Observation? No, I know Observer.
I've got it downloaded, and after I finish the review I'm moving on to it as a fun game for myself.
Oh, this isn't fun. Wait. No, when I say that, I don't mean it's bad. I do not mean that in the slightest. I mean, like, it's not like a fun game that you put on to have fun. The easiest way to pitch this game is 2001: A Space Odyssey HAL Simulator. So it's difficult to talk about this game without spoiling it, but I'm going to do the best I can. So something has happened in space that is not particularly great. You play the role of the AI of a ship, and you've got to help the crew figure out what happened, even though they're asking you questions because you're an all-knowing AI who doesn't have memory loss, but somehow you do. And so you've got to help the crew figure out what happened. So the majority of what you're doing is just computer inputs. But the way that the UI, the person who did is the main designer of the game, was the UI designer on Alien Isolation.
Ooh, that's good.
So you've got this really, really interesting. So there's no puzzles when the puzzle is finding out what you have to do. Actually doing it is relatively easy. I'm not a crazy way through. I'm only a couple hours in. I'm told from my friends that it's not a particularly long game, but it's not exactly like Edith Finch, 2 hours and you're done short. from what I've played so far, this is one of the most interesting games I've played in a while, and has real potential, and will report back when I finished all of it. It's getting review scores that are crazy high. I think it got a 9 from IGA, and I think it's got a 9 or 9.5 from GameSpot. Like, this game is definitely not one to sleep on, hence why I've actually forked out and got it. And of course, my favorite film is 2001: A Space Odyssey, so of course I was interested when someone said you play as Hal, basically. Excuse me. Sorry, still a bit ill.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's like, is it like search engine the game? Like, you're trying to figure out what a person's problem is based on the questions they're asking to a search engine.
You've got a bit like you, but it's not text at all. Well, there's some text. It's really weird to explain. I just recommend looking up like some gameplay footage from any of the major sites. We might even have some on. I say we. I'm so used to saying that. But there might be some on Inner Circle. I don't know who's reviewing it there, unless it's you, Nick, or Sam. But seeing as neither of you knew about this game, I doubt it is. So yeah, but Observation is really cool, and the opening credit sequence makes me feel like I'm watching a David Fincher movie, and that's always a good thing.
Well, in that case, I'm gonna have to check it out then. I've basically seen nothing about this, but I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, because it's a team of like 10 or 12 people who made it.
Cool.
Maybe that's underselling it, but it's a small team that have all done interesting things individually with other games, and I love when teams do that. That's how Firewatch. There was people who some people who worked on Bioshock.
Bioshock.
Putting those syllables together, they're gonna come together at some point.
Yeah, that's how the Firewatch team was developed. It was just created from out of other games, and so yeah, Observation would recommend so far.
Cool, awesome. Nick,
I don't play video games. I don't know what you're talking about.
I knew it. Proof. You heard it here, folks. He's a fraud.
I've mainly been playing 3 things. I've been playing a little bit of Rage 2 over the past 2 days. I have very mixed feelings about the game right now. I love the gunplay, but everything else is... how do I put this? This is a great game. If you've got 20 hours of podcasts that you're backtracked on, this is a great game to put podcasts on and just kill things. And it doesn't help the fact that I just finished A Plague Tale: Innocence, which is probably sitting in my top 3 games that have come out this year. It's really, really good. I recommend anyone who likes The Last of Us should go play it. So Ivan,
you have my attention.
It's really good. Like, I'm not a huge fan of overly linear games, but the amount of storytelling they managed to put into it, it was cinematic level from a very, very, very small studio, and it was really impressive. Like, I haven't been this blown away finishing a game at an emotional level since. I'm not going to compare it to What Remains of Edith Finch, because that had me in tears, but I would say it felt just as good as Hellblade by the end of it, which, as everyone knows, that's one of my I'm going to say top 10 favorite games this generation easily. And to balance out everything, I've been playing Stardew Valley on my Vita, because having a nice little farm and just taking things at your own pace is really relaxing when you're dealing with plague rats and everything else. It's just nice to unwind with something light.
Yeah. All right. So before we get anything deeper, Sam, what have you been playing, sir? And just kind of lead us into some of these PlayStation 5 rumors that we've been seeing lately.
Okay, so in all honesty, E3 prep work has hit such a critical mass point that I haven't been able to play much. I've mostly just been playing Halo Wars 2 with my friends, my bros, just playing matches here and there. Beyond that, I have touched on Vampire the Masquerade a little bit, because I'm really looking forward to the sequel. So janky as it is, I'm having fun, toying around in the original game. Thank you again to Nick for pointing me in that direction.
I love that game.
It's so good. Like, if you get past the jank, it's one of the most pure RPGs out there. It really is.
I love like the actual tabletop role playing game like of that. It's so much fun.
Mm-hmm. I would love to play the tabletop game after doing this. But yeah, so the PlayStation stuff. So Sony had their IR Day 2019, which is an investor relations day, a few days ago, about a week ago. And while they didn't unveil the PlayStation 5 or anything, they talked about what people can expect to see in the next generation PlayStation. And what's interesting about this is they're not pushing the graphic side of things. Yeah, they're not pushing the pixels or the teraflops. They're pushing the fact that it's going to be seamless and immersive, and the fact that they're having an SSD instead of an standard magnetic plate hard drive, spinning plates that make noise, generate heat and magnetism. Instead, they'll be using an SSD. And they showed off the difference in Spider-Man loading. It was like under a second, 0.83 seconds, I believe, versus 8 seconds to fast travel, which is a pretty big deal, to say the least. They talked about having one Sony collaboration with PlayStation Productions, which is this new unit that is going to be making movies and TV shows out of Sony IPs, but it's still handled by Sony Interactive Entertainment. It's not done by Sony's film end of things, which is interesting, to say the least. So did anyone else get a chance to check out their IR Day investor call or any of the news there?
Film stuff piqued my interest because of course it did.
Of course.
The loading time thing that was a few weeks ago, wasn't it? Because
they talked about it. They talked about it a few weeks ago. They showed it off here.
Oh really? And
yes.
and have you seen? Is that footage available?
Yes, yeah, we have it on our website, actually. Nick wrote it up. Hold on, I'll pop it in chat if I can find it.
You know when you wish you could do something again because it's now just given away that I don't read our website. Oh my god. But yeah.
So another thing that came out, this came out just recently, is the fact that, it looks like we lost Nick for a moment. Okay. Is the fact that Kojima is teasing a new Death Stranding trailer, because of course he is. And my only guess is that there's going to be a new trailer and he's acquired new celebrities to show off in his dance of madness and brilliance and whatever.
Who do we think it's going to be?
Okay.
I think because he went on record so many times about how much he loved Mad Max, I reckon it's going to be. It's not going to be Tom Hardy, and it's not going to be Charlize Theron. It's going to be somebody like. I reckon. You know what? I reckon he's got George Miller.
You think he's got George Miller in there?
Yeah, the director of Mad Max Fury Road.
That's a darn good guess, actually.
Why the hell not? If he's got Del Toro, got Del Toro, he can get George Miller.
Yeah, you know what? Sure, I'll go with you. Why the heck not? Yeah, but I mean, we know he's gonna do some other reveal. Like, he's got one of his other film industry friends in there that he's gonna show off in this trailer. And there is a new trailer supposedly coming sometime next week, sometime in the next 7 days. So yeah, that's pretty much it, Ivan. Unless there was something else you want me to touch on, Ivan.
Right. I think he heard you talking about teraflops and he just buggered off.
So it's just the two of us right now. Did you have any further questions, James?
Will it be called? Do you think it won't be called the PlayStation 5?
I don't see how you can't call it the PlayStation 5. Admittedly, they are being very careful right now to say the next generation PlayStation. I'm dead serious. Like, every time they talk about it right now, they're saying the next generation PlayStation. I'm like, guys, would you please give it a rest? I understand if it was Xbox, because God knows what name they're going to inflict on us, but everyone knows what this thing is going to be. It's the PlayStation 5.
and even if they call it the PlayStation, let's come with something crazy. The PlayStation Philips. I don't know. They just openly call another electronics company. Everyone's going to call it the PS5.
Hey guys.
Hey, where'd you go?
I told her that if she fell asleep while we were going live, I was going to put her on camera. So.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
All right, guys. Thank you, guys. Back to the show.
All right.
That was a fun detour.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
All right. Nick, did we have you back?
I am back and fully functional. Or
Okay.
as I ever am.
Good to hear. Okay, so Nick, Ivan, I was asking if either of you had any more questions about the Sony stuff. The Death Stranding trailer that is inevitably coming next week. It's all but confirmed. He's going to have another celebrity, the Sony IR Day stuff, anything like that.
No.
I've actually got something very quickly. Do you think that all of this stuff that Sony are doing right now will influence what Microsoft talk about in their conference? Like, do you think loading times are now going to become a hot button issue?
Here's the thing. I don't think it's so much now they're going to do it that way. I think they were always going to, and this is Sony getting out ahead of Microsoft. That's my opinion. I think that both consoles are going to have a custom SSD, vastly decrease loading times. Games will stream assets faster, that sort of thing. And I think that Sony wanted to make sure they were included in the conversation when that conversation began. That's my opinion, though. I don't know.
Yeah, it's always hard to tell because these conferences can adjust on the fly as they go, but I feel like since SSDs are a huge focus on next generation hardware, like Xbox said prior to Sony that they were looking into SSDs, or that's what the rumor was. So I kind of think load times are just going to be, I think that's going to be one of the key selling points for next gen that both companies are going to be focusing on of, hey, you remember this game that took 45 seconds to load? You can load it in 3 now. I think that's going to be a huge pitch for both of them because I don't think you're going to see the huge graphical spike that we've gotten this generation necessarily coming next. So I think they're going to have to focus on other features, so to speak, and that's why people are talking about load times, ray tracing, all that kind of stuff.
The next gen, the difference isn't going to be graphics so much as it will be everything surrounding the graphics. It'll be physics, CPU increases, frame rate increases, load times, asset streaming, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I want to see a demo of Bloodborne where the load times are crazy small.
I want to see Bloodborne running at 4K 60 FPS, but they can't even be bothered to give us a pro patch, so here we are.
Boom. Shots fired.
I reserve the right to be angry about that. That is the one game. It seems like such a no-brainer that it should have gotten a pro patch.
Yeah, they haven't done a good. They haven't done a lot of gone back and pro patch some of the bigger games, which kind of sucks. Because it'd be cool to. I just want to be able to play I won't even care about the 4K necessarily. Just give me the PS4. Give me 60 FPS on Bloodborne locked. I could care less about the 4K. Just give me that game 1080, 60 FPS locked. No dips.
Yeah. PlayStation.
So Ivan,
for a second there, it seemed like I was the only one talking, and no one should let me talk about gaming news for longer than 3 seconds.
Sorry about that.
I've got the thing is I misread the Kojima tweet while I was at work, and I thought the original tweet was not create the rope. I thought it said pulling the rope, and I immediately went, "We're doing a jerk off joke? Kojima's doing a jerk off joke for his game?" And then it dawned on me that we're creating rope, which seems just as dirty in my mind, but we'll wait and see on that one.
It's artful. It's artful because it's
Kojimbles.
He's talked. Okay, so see, I'm going to try and make this as serious as I can. He's talked before about how video games in their current evolution use different size sticks as their in mechanics, and he wants to use strings. And the worst part of that statement is that it almost makes sense. I almost get what he's trying to do. And I'm just wondering how much the social interaction side of it is going to be. I hope this game isn't too online focused, if that makes sense, in terms of how the worlds are connecting and how the strings entangle us.
What is this game?
It's about...
You're a Domino's pizza delivery man delivering babies around the world.
It's right in the name. I mean, the setting is pretty obvious. I'm talking about the gameplay mechanics. That's where my confusion comes in. But
Again, that's what I'm saying. Is like, what do you do?
Right. Well, as best I can tell, you're a delivery guy. You deliver supplies through the dangerous world to different human encampments. That's fairly simple. And there appear to be gun-like objects, so maybe there will be guns. There's
so this is
combat.
Fallout New Vegas.
Oh.
Look. The thing is the thing that confuses me about this game isn't this. Like, I get the story aspect he's going for. Part of the reason I'm so excited for this game is the cast he has. It's like there's no way the voice acting in this game is going to be bad. The writing might be bad, but there's no way the actors aren't going to sell whatever story he's come up with. That's not my confusion. Is that he's said several contradictory things about what the gameplay is going to be. And that's where my confusion lies. Like, I understand what he's going for with the story. It's really weird, but I get it. But the gameplay thing, like, there was the whole thing where people asked him, is there combat? He's like, yes, there's combat, but it's not conventional combat. And then a few months later, he's like,
it's verbal combat.
He's like, there isn't combat. And I'm like, well, how did we go from it's not conventional to it's different to there's none? Like,
you talked to his lawyer who specialized in the case with No Man's Sky and said, you can't claim that, man. This is not what combat is.
Well, see, and this is my thing is like, are we getting a Kojima walking simulator? Like,
hell yes.
Like, are we going to go? Is this going to be like Metal Gear Solid 4, where you do about half an hour gameplay and then get an hour and a half cutscene? Like, I don't know. I've
been joking for a year since this game was announced that it's going to be a rhythm action on rails game.
You know what, James?
I'm still yet to be proven wrong. This is the thing.
And see, that's the thing, is like James' claim is so ridiculous, but like Kojima's done absolutely nothing to disprove the fact that this could be an on-the-rails rhythm game. And
God, what if he's been secretly writing an album this entire time, and this is just him trying to get his music out the only way that anyone will allow him, by secretly making a game?
Oh my God. All I have to say with Death Stranding is all the people that I'm done seeing trailers. Like, if he releases another trailer and we don't have actual gameplay, the E3 trailer we got was in-engine footage because Norman Reedus climbing up that mountain was the absolute most hilarious walking animation I've ever seen in my life. He looked like he was off to see The Wizard of Oz. But the thing is if he releases a fourth trailer for this game and doesn't clarify what the gameplay is, doesn't give a release date or window, I'm just done caring until it's in my hand. So
you're saying he has to do one or the other. It has to actually show the gameplay mechanics or a release date. I think the former is much more likely.
Needs to be
both. Yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, it would be both, but I'm saying realistically, we're only going to get one.
And if we don't get either, then just throw it out.
I'm convinced Death Stranding isn't really a game. I'm convinced that Kojima is not human. Instead, he is a game, a harem game, where he's just collecting as many actors as possible and recording them for his life. When Death Stranding comes out, you're going to peel off this sticker. It's going to be called Kojima the Game. And it's just going to be like videos of just you recruiting random actors to play in some game project. And Death Stranding is actually the game project in the Kojima game.
Just wait. You wait till one of the Yakuza games, like when they'll do Yakuza 7 and they'll make fun of Kojima and some spin-off side mission where it'll be a quest where you have to go recruit a bunch of famous actors for a project that never gets released. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine the internet? Imagine like all this build-up. You got Troy Baker, you got Milkison, you got all these guys involved in this thing, and that gets canceled. Could you imagine? Could you imagine the meltdown on the internet of what could this, like, we all, like, everybody on this podcast pretty much would, like, we all know, have a collective feeling.
That would be game of the year.
Like,
that game would be game of the year for that mission alone.
And, like when Silent Hill got canceled, everyone on this podcast was collectively sad because that, like, PT looked amazing. But the thing is if Death Stranding got canceled, They'd be like, what is this? Like, we're still in the phase. Like, we're 3 years, almost 3, was it 3 years into 2 years?
I think it's been 3 years. Oh, it'll be 3 years of C3 because wasn't it E3 2016?
E3 2016 was when it was revealed. Yep.
Okay, so we've gone 3 years of seeing this game without knowing what the gameplay, like the standardized gameplay mechanics are. Can any, like, would any developer even, like, would we even tolerate this from any other developer?
No.
Like, if Bethesda or EA or Activision showed off a game and then 3 years later you still didn't know what the gameplay looked like, would you still be hyping it? No.
Yes.
I mean, it's one thing if the game disappeared and then came back and was like re-revealed. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But the game has been like, oh no, here's a continual update, or oh, here's a new 60-second trailer. Oh no, here's a new poster with this person in it. Like, he's been providing continual updates, and I get that they don't want to give away too much, but you need to say something for sure.
Well, there's continual updates, and then there's making new merchandise for his store. Like, those are two.
I mean, how do you
things.
think the game is being funded? How do you think he's keeping Sony in the black?
I am agreeing with you, sir. Like, there are wallets for that thing that I looked up. It's like $100. I am sorry. I don't even own $100. I don't even have I don't need a wallet to remind me that I don't have $100.
I think Kojima is like the Quentin Tarantino of game development.
No, he's not.
Like, he's clearly an auteur. He has a very particular style about how he does stuff, and he's on his own timetable. He's just like, if he wants to put out the movie next week, he'll put out the movie next week. If he wants to put out the movie 10 years from now, he'll do the movie 10 years from now. But I feel like Kojima, like, if you're playing a Kojima game. You don't even need to see the credits, you just know.
My favorite thing that's come out of the whole production of Death Stranding was that picture a few months ago where he uploaded, where it's him, Norman Reedus, and I think it was Milkison at a table. And they had, like, dishes and, like, cutlery arranged in a specific way. And Kojima's, like, explaining gameplay mechanics and how the world interacts to Norman. And Norman just looks absolutely confused to what the hell is going on. And, like, you've got, like, these, like, knives and forks, like, tilted on angles, and there's like a food dish like crookedly held up by something. I'm like, what? Why? Like,
I still don't understand why Norman Reedus is here, because let's be honest, he's not that good at acting.
Because he and Kojima are best friends, and they both are nursing a grudge at Konami for robbing us of a Silent Hills game.
Well,
I get it. I'd be nursing a grudge too. I still am, actually.
I'm sorry. I feel like Norman Reedus, like, for him, it was like, I want to branch out from Walking Dead, so he agreed to do the Silent Hill game. And then when that folded, Kojima was like, oh, I'm going to make another game. And Norman was like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll be good. Like, a couple of years of my time or whatever. And here we are, 3 years later. And all that Norman Reedus is
because keep in mind, Norman Reedus was trying to blend his career. Like, what he was trying to say, okay, I just finished this major role. Like, let me get out of like, this is my thing. I need to bleed into something else. Like, he wanted to do what Kit Harington did. He wants to do what Bryan Cranston did. Like, people before him, like, bleed into other types of production. And so Silent Hills was going to be a good option. It's like, hey, I'm kind of getting into something else, something a little different, showing my ability to be in something else and to be a different character. But it just didn't pan out. I mean, like, he's been in other movies clearly, but he hasn't been notable in any of those movies.
I mean, his most notable movie is The Boondock Saints, and that's way before.
Yeah, he has some, like, uncredited stuff. Like, he's in The Departed, but it's like, oh yeah, barely. But almost everybody's in The Departed if you think about it.
That's fair, actually. I'm thinking about
if you were a male actor in the 90s, you were in The Departed. Like, it's.
There was also that a lot. There was like basically every young actor in Hollywood was in Black Hawk Down as well.
Yeah. So, all right, we got to move on. Other topic pieces. So, Godzilla's coming out this week. So,
heck yeah,
Godzilla. Some early reviews have come out, and I thought there was one in particular that stood out to me, and it made me excited. It was I can't remember who wrote it, But one of the pieces they were talking about, it was actually a negative review saying Godzilla's too crammed full of these monsters. Like, they do not focus enough on the human element and the storyline. And it's like just too much of it is focused on the monsters fighting. And I'm like, this is a bad review?
Oh,
That's
hold
music
up,
to my
hold up,
ears.
Hold up. Who went to a Godzilla movie for the story?
Well, I mean, have you watched a Godzilla movie, like the old school Godzilla stuff?
Like
There's some interesting story arcs there trying to tie in the stuff. But, like, it's not absurd.
The biggest failing a Godzilla film can have, though, is taking too long to get you into the action.
Yeah. Which I thought that was really interesting, because that was the major critique of the first movie. It was that Bryan Cranston's not in this enough. But then the other part was that they spent way too long on the human element, and Godzilla's barely in the movie and doesn't show up until really the end. Like, they tease him every so often, but they don't really show him for a very long time. And so that was the biggest critique of the movie. But this one's coming out, and so I'm really excited about this one because Mothra, Rodan, King Ghidorah, and Godzilla all fighting. And this is going to be leading up to Kong versus Godzilla, which is the one I really want to see. That's what I really want to see. So I'm excited. Anyone else interested in going to see Godzilla?
Oh yeah, heck yeah, absolutely. And speaking of which, I actually wanted to ask James. James, what's the box office looking like on that, predictions wise?
It's tracking pretty well. Pre-sales are doing well because it's the kind of film that the dedicated fans will book in advance, and they have been booking. There are some things I can't say because of contracts.
Of course.
But anecdotally, I can say that it is going to sell. It's going to be a big open. It's going to be. I can see the headlines now. Godzilla opens monster. It hasn't got any competition in terms of new films. The only downside, I believe, it is a 12A. So you're going to have all the family stuff.
For people who don't know what 12A is.
PG-13.
Gotcha. Yeah, for its rating.
Yeah. So yes, Godzilla should be doing. It should be a pretty big box office hit. The question is, because it's Labor Day weekend right now.
Yes.
Yes, the end of Labor Day.
Memorial Day. It's Memorial Day.
Yeah.
This is Memorial Day. Yeah, this is. I always get them mixed up. To be fair, so.
I was like, I have the right to get them mixed up. We don't have that here. We just call it bank holiday. But yes. So yes, in answer to your question, Sam, I don't truly know the exact answer of how Godzilla's going to sell, other than probably well.
Okay, that's fair. That's completely fair. Last I saw, while it had slowed down, Avengers Endgame is going to take over Avatar, right? It's about 100 million away.
It will take over just.
Just barely.
Which I think that's fine, because let's remember Avatar got bolstered up because it got re-released. Same thing with Titanic, which I think is BS. It shouldn't count towards your box office if you're like, 10-year anniversary, let's put it back in there.
Oh, well, then by this logic, then Infinity War should have $500 million taken away from it.
Why not? Like, they didn't take it out of theaters and put it back.
Yes, they did.
Where?
I think you'll find on the opening night of Endgame they had double screenings.
Yeah.
Which counts.
No, what I'm talking about is that with Avatar, it came out and then it went away, and then it came back a couple years later.
Mm-hmm.
They put it back on screens.
I'm just saying, it's sneaky. It's the same thing. It's like Infinity War was done. It was released on DVD, and then they released it back in cinemas as a double.
Oh, sorry,
bill.
I thought you said Endgame. I was like, what?
No, I'm talking about Infinity War. And they're going to do it with Endgame. I can see it happening later in the year. They're going to re-experience the film in IMAX. And the weird thing is, with Spider-Man coming out in just over a month, Endgame will reappear.
I got to tell you, I got spoiled on that, by the way. I know you said don't watch the trailer. I didn't. I had my phone on autoplay. I was like cooking or something. And so someone was talking about it, and I was like, damn it. Now I see why he said don't watch the trailer.
Wait,
so there's darn good reason. I haven't watched it.
Yeah, there's a good reason.
Dang it.
Although, James, I think it's a fake out. I don't think it's real.
I know, but even if it's not real, I would have preferred to have heard that in the theater.
Yeah,
We're talking about the thing involving Mysterio, yeah?
Yes, involving Mysterio.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that is a misdirection, like some BS to like. Because remember, he's a con man. He's a con man.
It is almost certainly a misdirection, but to have that seed of doubt or line of questioning added into your brain while watching the film, it changes how you watch that film.
Yeah, and
in the moment it would have been better.
If you guys really want to know, I'll tell you later after the show if you really want to know what it is. But I will not say it because James is right. If it is true, it is a huge spoiler that's going to change everything about how you view everything. So don't.
That's really surprising that they put that in the trailer. Then,
although, yeah, I think it's a misdirection on purpose to build up like before the movie. But like I said, I won't talk about it. So, moving on a little bit, we're gonna talk about Game of Thrones. So we're gonna get into that. So we're gonna give everybody a minute to get out of here if you don't want to hear about Game of Thrones spoilers. We took a week off.
I know people who don't watch the show who know about the ending right now.
Yeah,
I think it's a little bit insulting. The statute of limitations on spoilers for Game of Thrones basically being non-existent.
Yeah,
this is the only show I know of that's like this, like where it's been. Well, like, as soon as it's out, spoilers are totally fair game.
Yeah, no. I always stuck to the 1 week thing. I've tried to be nice beyond the 1 week thing for people I know who weren't that caught up. I mean, but the 1 week thing has always been my interpretation of TV. But Game of Thrones really, like, I remember it did this in season 7. I don't remember it before that, but season 7
I remember
was
season
when it got
6.
bad.
Season 6 was close. Like, people will still try to veil what the spoilers were.
Right,
they try to veil it a little bit.
Season 6, I remember it was just mostly reactions. People would go, "Oh my god," or and then. But season 7 kicked off this obnoxious live tweeting of the episodes. Like, no one's interested in that. Like, all you're doing is being obnoxious to the people who not even aren't subscribed or don't have cable, but can't sit down at 9 p.m. That's just annoying. Anyway.
That's true. But yeah, also I will say, I'm on the look for more replacements for Game of Thrones in the meantime. Like some
thing that will tie you over for a little bit.
Don't say it yet. Oh man. No, I'm looking for something in the same kind of vein. Like that's the difference. I need a sword fighting and that kind of thing.
HBO have another series coming up, a partnership with the BBC, an adaptation of His Dark Materials.
Well, I mean, there's something that's already out now that you could stream.
Have you considered checking out The Last Kingdom on Netflix?
That's what I was going to talk about.
Yep, it's not bad. It's not bad.
I watched the first episode, and I dig it. It's kind of like got this slight documentary kind of vibe to it, like a biopic, but it's not really. I'm gonna see if I can try to pitch this to you because it's been a little while since I saw the first episode. It's set, I want to say 1100, somewhere around that frame.
Yeah.
Where England is still at this point like city states. There's no United Kingdom concept yet. Mostly the people it's all over the place. The Danish are a major threat.
Yeah.
Or the Danes.
Like
and so
pastries?
Yes, the Danishes are fighting the Cruelers. It's getting crazy out there, man. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. You have the main guy, I think it's like his name is like Uhtred or something like that.
I am Uhtred.
Yeah. Uhtred. He's like it's like the first episode is like you have the king of some place and he goes off in a battle but his son dies prematurely, and so his second son becomes Uhtred, his first son's name, and becomes the rightful heir.
Yeah, he's adopted.
Oh no! I'm talking about the first part. Like his actual father. His real brother dies, and so he gets his brother's name, but then he gets kidnapped in the battle, and the Danes raise him as one of their own, and then they get killed, and then he comes back, and then it's just like weird. And so it's mainly like I was raised Danish, but I'm English, and trying to pick sides and that kind of thing. It's very interesting. It's got a lot of potential from the first episode. I'm interested. I want to see more. So, all right, that's enough. Let's talk Game of Thrones. So, all right, well, game's over. We have an answer. Bran's the king. So
raise your hand if you actually saw that coming.
I mean, half raised. Where I knew it wasn't going to be somebody who wanted it, or at least explicitly stated they wanted the throne. Right. I knew it wasn't going to be somebody like that. But I thought it was going to be someone like Gendry, who didn't want it. And Bran is an okay one. I mean, it makes sense logistically, but I'm not thrilled with it. Like, it's not emotionally satisfying, if that makes sense.
It's sort of, I think, acceptance. Like, okay, I can accept Bran being king of the 6 kingdoms.
Yeah. So, what about the rest of you guys?
I actually really like how the show ends. I would have loved the last half hour to have been an entire season.
That's an interesting. That's interesting.
I love, for me, the Game of Thrones is at its best when they're not goddamn fighting and it's people in rooms talking about politics and the minutia of running a feudal kingdom. Yeah. I think that's the best of Game of Thrones, and it's the best of these actors in Game of Thrones as well.
Absolutely. I mean, that's George's inspiration for the whole series. He explicitly stated that his entire idea behind everything was, sure, I love Lord of the Rings. You know, he says, I have the greatest respect for Tolkien's works, but what kind of tax policies did Aragorn implement? Were former orcs spared, you know, in the wars to come, or things like that? Or how to deal with the psychological healing of the hobbits who endured the scouring of the Shire, which happened in the books and all that. Like, so yeah, what you're describing, James, that's very much a part of the DNA of the series. Many of the best scenes, many of the best episodes aren't battles, but they're focused on character. And it was nice to see.
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me as if the last half of the last book is just this.
Yeah, absolutely.
POV characters spanning over like months of time, detailing exactly what happens to the end of these characters as the story ends. That wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
And what's also very interesting is the fact that originally Martin considered, back when this whole mess was a trilogy, because it was originally supposed to be a trilogy, and look how that went. The final book's title was originally A Time for Wolves, and that's pretty evident because the Starks have pretty much taken over everything at this point. You got Starkland, North Starkland, King Beyond the Wall Starkland, and Arya is about to colonize West Starkland, whatever she finds.
Yeah, man, I just don't. I'm not. Okay, I'll go ahead and say this. I was watching a little thing about how they got to this point, about where George basically told him, like, hey, here's the rough outline of what I kind of had in plan for, like, here's where I kind of want things to end. And apparently, well, we don't know for certain because the book's not out to verify it or not. And I got a feeling that Martin's going to change what his intended ending was.
I doubt that very much.
I have a feeling they changed a little bit of it in terms of like how things are played off. But I think what was happening during this last season was they were trying to reverse engineer where they knew what the ending was, and they were just trying to fast track to get everything there. Because the last episode itself, I think, is inherently flawed because I think the ending should have been like the first 15, maybe 20 minutes, maybe in the first half hour, is just Jon coming back, seeing Daenerys is crazy, killing Daenerys, and then End of that scene, and then the last hour is just them arguing about who's going to be king. I think that should have been the framework of the entire episode. Because I think that discussion was way too quick. It was like, all right, who should be king? Random dude stands up. They're like, sit back down. Nope. Sit down. You did nothing.
Well, you say
Sam
that.
says, let's have democracy.
It was his wedding that was the red wedding.
Yeah. But, like, so then Sam's like, democracy, we all laugh about it. And then they're just basically like, what about Bran? It went way too quick for me.
One thing, well, I don't agree with most of the criticisms that I've seen of this season. Like, I like at the end of the day, even if it's not my fantasy happy ending that I like in my head, because that doesn't fit with the series and that's not the way it's going to be. This is George's intended ending and whatnot. The writers have said as much. I do agree with the notion that this could have been 7, 8 episodes, maybe even a full season of 10 episodes. I do agree with that. Because the pacing on the back half of this season is lightning fast. It's ridiculous.
Like, I disagree with, like, there's some people saying it needed to be, this last season needed to be like 3 seasons long.
No, that's ridiculous. That's excessive. But it could have been a full season of 10 episodes. I do agree with that.
They could have done it so this season 8 would have been, but if they like this season 8 is just leading up to Battle of Winterfell, and then the last season is like the midway point would be the battle for King's Landing, and then the last 3 episodes just the ending, just getting there. Like, I could see that where it was like 9 seasons. This 10th season and more stuff is crazy. So, hey, I'm getting a call. Give me just a second. Go ahead and continue.
Nick, what about you? You've been awfully quiet.
I don't know. I'm conflicted, so to speak, in terms of how I feel about it. I definitely think it felt very rushed. Like, I think that's a general consensus, is that it felt a little rushed. I do agree with James. My favorite moments in Game of Thrones are definitely like the background politics. I never was one that was like, oh, they need to have big epic battles. This isn't Lord of the Rings. I like the political overtones and the backstabbing and all that different aspects is what made that series, what made Game of Thrones so good. And this season felt like it should have a lot more of it than it did. Like, I agree, and Bran becoming king was just like, it was terrible. I can't get behind it whatsoever. Like, I literally want to lead an uprising against him, even though I'm not part of the series. I just like, it just seems like it doesn't make sense to me. Like, I'm listening to you guys talk about it, you guys make it sound like it makes sense, but just when I sat down and watched it with my wife, I literally, like, we closed out the episode and went, whack. Like, I was really happy with a lot of character arc endings. Things like, me and Sam have talked about this. Like, I thought the fight between the Mountain and the Hound and how that ended was one of the best character arc endings in the entire series. How that ended. Sansa's ending was fine. Jon's was kind of And, like, the biggest thing that made me kind of mad that it felt short was we only got to see Daenerys be, like, truly evil for, like, what, 40 minutes?
Exactly. Like, I joked about this on Reddit, but, like, I could have watched Dark Let Me Be Evil Daenerys for a full season. Emilia Clarke did a phenomenal job acting that out.
Here's the thing. I've got to say this because I've been thinking about this a lot, and everyone talking about the Daenerys heel turn, to use a wrestling term. I think we've been watching her be this character for years. The only reason we haven't thought of her as evil is because the music that plays is majestic, and the lighting that she gets is of a good guy, and everyone loves and respects her that we're following. We're not seeing the death and destruction that she's leaving in her wake because that's not what the camera is choosing to focus on. I feel like she's been maybe not this level of evil, but this character's been there this entire time, but it's been hiding in plain sight.
Well, no, I see. Here's the thing. I think she's just been ruthless. She's been ruthless, absolutely. She crushes her enemies with fire and blood, but she has not been evil, and certainly not. And I know, but in the books, but I'm gonna bring up a theory that I want you to think about, James, because I'm really interested in your take on this since you've read the books. And that is, I think Dany has just been ruthless before, and I think a major problem that people are having with this is the fact that she's going against Cersei, who is one of the most evil characters. Hang on a moment, Ivan. Who is one of the most evil characters at that point in the series, who blew up the Sept of Baelor. She's killed and tortured hundreds, if not thousands of people. She's utterly psychotic and narcissistic. She doesn't even care for her children anymore, their memories. And I think in the books, that's not who Dany's supposed to be going up against. I'm going to suggest that in the books, she is marching on the capital to take it away from Aegon Blackfyre or young Griff.
Ooh.
Let me frame it this way. In the show, towards the end, you hear Tyrion talk about stories and the importance of stories. But he doesn't really talk about that too much throughout this season. The only real point we have towards the Bran thing is right before the Battle of Winterfell, where he's like, "What about you? You could be Lord of the Starks or whatever. Like, you're Lord of Winterfell." And he's like, "I don't want it." And so that was basically it. But this whole focus on stories is something interesting because I feel like this is something that was cut out of the season. Because I think this would have helped soften things, where stories are something that the peasants tell each other to hype up their people.
Yes.
Like to hype up their leaders and give them stuff. Like the whole thing is with Daenerys is that Daenerys has been given titles and stories throughout the entire series. Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, all these things. And the problem is she started believing it. And so for her, because she started believing the stories that were told of her that are not meant for her, but the stories that are supposed to inspire the people behind her, she started believing them and believing that she was always justified in every decision that she made. And that is, I think, something that was missing from the series, which would have helped people understand her decision. Where she saw herself as liberating, helping the people, that ultimately any decision that she made because she believed her own stories would create and justify her decisions, when that's not what the purpose of those stories was.
Right. I mean, that was the impression I got even before the final episode. But I agree with you. Again, if there had been 7, 8, 10 episodes, whatever, then it would have been easier to do this, easier to fit this in, because Tyrion even says towards the end, everywhere she goes, she kills and burns evil men, and we cheer her on for it. And she got to a point where, in combination with the series of traumatic losses she took in a very short period of time, the combination of those two just caused her to regress and decide, you know what? No, I'm going to do this, and it's right because I have willed it to be right. And Emilia Clarke actually gave a very interesting talk, an interview about that final episode, where she said she doesn't think Dany has gone mad so much as Dany cannot be persuaded otherwise from believing that she is doing the right thing at that point. Mm-hmm. And I understand the difference. I know some people might say you're splitting hairs, but I really do understand the difference. And what you're talking about, Ivan, I absolutely agree with that. And in the books, assuming the laughable notion that the books ever get here, James knows what I'm talking about. I think the fact that Dany is going to be doing this towards a much more sympathetic ruler is going to change the dynamic as well.
I think that train agrees with you.
The train agrees.
Exactly. All aboard the Sam train. All aboard the Sam train. But yeah, overall, considering the way things went, I was very happy with the finale. Considering the deck of cards that had been dealt out beforehand.
And a shout out to that camera shot of Danny coming towards the crowd and the wings.
Oh, that was shameless, and I love it.
Glorious.
Like, dude, you know they have been sitting on that shot for several seasons now.
Yeah.
You know they thought that shot up back in 2013 or 2014, and they're like, nope, we can't use it yet. Nope, we can't use it yet. Nope, we can't use it yet. But it's like, I don't even care how over the top it is. It's glorious. I love that. I need a high def wallpaper of that.
I want loads. I want all the different frames so I can walk past it in a hallway and just see the wings come out.
Yeah, I mean, shout out. I honestly believe of all the actors and actresses this season that Emilia Clarke has shone through as the strongest by far. And that's not, intended to disparage, all the others. And I think everyone's done a great job. But she really did a fantastic job having to sell that change and turn in just a couple of episodes.
Yeah. Also, I want to shout out Jacob Anderson.
Yes.
For Grey Worm, because he finally had something to do.
Yep.
Like other than just being stoic and being, oh, I'm Grey Worm. Oh, I have something for Missandei. Like he had genuine pathos and proper lines of dialogue and working with other actors. I could watch him and John butt heads in a political faction.
Man, I wish John had gotten to defend himself through trial by combat against him.
Of course, who would he run up against? Grey Worm? That's about it.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I wish he had tried to do trial by combat and fought Grey Worm. That would have been cool. But
yeah.
And also, I think Kit Harington, while Kit Harington definitely in terms of acting was on the back foot this season, he really was there as more of a support character for Daenerys and combat scenes. I do think that he did a fantastic job in their final scene together in the throne room.
Who else is there? What else is there going to talk about?
I want to talk about one thing that's annoying me from a fan perspective.
Sure.
Of this whole thing of Tyrion has the line going, who has the best story? I can't think of anyone better than Bran the Broken. And then people's response to this is going, Arya and all of her stuff with the faceless thing. And I just want to quickly address that by saying no one knows about that in Westeros.
and she likes it that way. That's the point.
So just shut up. And I want to say, if anyone listening to this signed a petition to remake season 8, you are not welcome to listen to this podcast.
There goes our audience.
I don't care.
I hear you. It's like I understand being upset. I get it if you're upset. Go browse fanfiction.com.
Or make your own fanfic.
Yeah. It's like, no, I don't blame you for that. It's fine. I've had to do that when series ended in a way that I really didn't care for. But the reality is, doing that it's disrespectful to the crew and the cast and what they did.
Actually, watch them do it. Because HBO doesn't have anything else right now.
They won't.
They don't have a backup season right now.
The thing is, I'm not saying it was ideal, but again, I'm tempered by understanding of the fact they had to bring this thing in for a close. Because D&D, David and Dan, were told that they were going to be adapting a series of books. And they weren't told that, George is going to take his sweet time, and by the time you hit season 5, there's not going to be any more books, and you're going to be working off of 10 to 20 bullet points. And they had to work their way backwards towards that ending. I'm not saying that's ideal. I'm saying you really can't blame them for that. It's not their fault. Sorry. Yeah. It's not, and I stand resolute on that.
I think that there is not enough blame being shed onto George R.R. Martin for this season.
No, there's not. And I'm one of those people who will always say, I love the books. I love the detail in the books. I read through them so many times. I'm planning a reread later this year. But the dude has had 8 years to put out the Winds of Winter. It's not even a matter of him not finishing the series. He didn't even give them the Winds of Winter to work off of. Point your blame and your anger somewhere else.
Yeah. See, that's the benefit of the Final Kingdom there, or Last Kingdom. It's all written out already. It's all done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm crazy tired. I'm trying to keep myself awake.
No worries. Is there anything else that stood out to anyone about the final episode or the series as a whole?
The fact that they set this up for a postseason that they could do, because the fact that Bran can't father children, we're gonna have another throne struggle in an eventual time.
Well,
they'll vote someone in.
Yeah, what they said was you just get the lords and ladies of Westeros and they all vote.
Yeah,
I'm
not gonna lie though. I'm gonna laugh when in like 10 or not. It's not 10. It's gonna be longer than that. However many years Sansa, her children or grandchildren, try to be a part of the voting process as well. But wasn't the North independent? What are you doing here?
Yeah.
Although now wait a minute. How long did the last three-eyed raven live to be?
I was about to bring this up because they might have accidentally elected an immortal king.
Gee, you don't have any problems.
You don't have to vote for a new king if there will never be a new king.
Yeah, seriously, doesn't seem so bad now. It sounds like democracy. Little do you know, you're heading for communism.
But what didn't they say the reason why they had the three-eyed raven was simply because they didn't have a new one because they were waiting for the next one? What was it? There was some rule about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, he was passing on the role, but
no, go Sam. Go.
No, I was just gonna say the three-eyed raven didn't die of old age. He died because the Night King killed him.
Yeah. What was it?
Are you thinking about when Sam and Tyrion are asking about what the Night King's purpose is, why he's chasing after Bran, and Bran says he wants to snuff out the stories of men?
No, there was a thing they were saying the reason why the last three-eyed raven didn't transfer at all, and they didn't have he didn't die was because he said nah, the next one wasn't ready yet. So it was all right, well I was waiting for you. You were the next one.
I don't remember, but there could be something, and I'm just too tired and I can't recall. It is possible.
But now that the Night King is gone, it's well, we don't really need a three-eyed raven. but yeah, I don't know. I mean, at least in terms of that thing, I mean, it's kind of funny and it kind of shits on Dany a little bit. She's I'm here to break the wheel, and they basically just have the wheel again. They reinstituted the wheel that they created the last time. They actually technically speaking, Dany didn't break the wheel at all, which is kind of funny. Actually, technically, Robert and Ned broke it. So think about it for a minute. When Dany's talking about breaking the wheel, she's saying, I don't want to have it where there's a lineage anymore. And at least this is how Tyrion pitches it to us. It's we don't want to have it so there's a leader and their kids become the king and do that kind of thing. She wants to break that wheel. But she's using her claim on the throne by being a kid to get that. So that's already BS from the start. That's just posthumously trying to make Dany sound like a better person than she was. This whole I'm here to break the wheel thing is just propaganda. She wants to benefit from that wheel. But afterwards, the part that I found really interesting was that because of what Robert and Ned did by killing the Targaryen king in the beginning, which started the entire Game of Thrones issue. I mean, that's what the process has been, just minus some wars, minus some battles, lives lost. It's okay, this person's dead, who has the next claim to the throne? And they argue about it by killing each other. They basically already redid the wheel. They just instituted this as the official wheel. The next time a king dies, we're going to argue again who's going to be king. We're going to do the same exact thing all over again. Except this time, hopefully we won't kill each other over it.
See, I can't wait till they announce the secret season 9 and Simba comes back to claim the throne.
Yes, a talking lion. Aslan.
Well, if you can't get elephants, lions are the next best thing.
He's not wrong.
I'm just waiting for someone to say, Aslan has come to save us.
It's 2019. No one cares about the Chronicles of Narnia anymore.
No, get Liam Neeson to voice him again.
Oh.
And just like, I'm back. It's like, you've been gone for 7 years since the last Narnia movie. Lo and behold, Game of Thrones is in the Narnia universe. So, yeah.
Oh,
That'd be interesting. So, all right. Anything else before we wrap things up for the evening? Let everybody have finished their Memorial Day out strong.
I don't think so.
Other than watch the film Top Secret, I got nothing.
All right. So, yeah, that's about it. Do our outros. Nicholas, where can the good people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Undead3XVI. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram tomorrow. I'm starting one of those things that the kids have. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Was an app called Tomorrow?
Well,
Man, things are different, man. I don't even understand anymore.
the beginning of a new era.
Oh, man. So, Sam?
You can find me on Twitter at Samuel Tolbert. That's TOLBERT. If you're going to be in LA for E3, hit me up. Let's hang out.
And James?
Yes, come and get me on the tweets at James_S Wilson. I'll be significantly less sleepy then. Go watch Top Secret. It's a comedy film. It's by Zucker Abrams. Zucker is the film they did after Airplane, and it's amazing. And not enough people have seen it.
Nice. Yeah, I'm Anchor MV2. You know where to find me at this point. Other thing, too. So next week is going to be our E3 show, at least our prediction stuff. That's the 3rd of June.
How has it been a year since the last prediction show?
That's how it always rolls, man. But anyway, so we're going to do that. And then after that, we have E3 proper. I'm planning on doing some streaming stuff during it. Planning on it. Not entirely positive about how that's going to roll. But we're going to see. I know Sam's going to be there representing Tick. So that's going to be dope. And then after that, we have the 17th, and we'll do our post E3 show, and that'll be our finale for the season. And we'll break for the summer. So
Nice.
it's going to be pretty dope. 3 more episodes, and then we're done. So, all right. And thank you guys for tuning in to the Greatest Show on Mondays, Multiverse Show. You can find us on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, the usual stuff. But thank you guys for tuning in, and we are out of here.
Good night.